Hello and welcome to this, our final webinar in the home learning series. If you're interested in watching recordings of those webinars, you can find them using the login you've been supplied with. So far we've looked at how simple and straightforward it is to set basic homework and how that homework is shared with parents and students. We've also looked at the quiz system and, of course, FrogPlay's unique approach to student engagement, as well as those in-depth analysis you can do when your class has completed their homework. Today, though, we're going to be taking a look at what reporting is available via what we call the Assignment Monitor. My name's Graham Quince and I'm Solutions Architect here at Frog Education. Please feel free to ask any questions at any time using the form on the side of your screen. I'll keep an eye on the presentation and I'll do my best to answer as we go along, but I'll also make sure I make time at the end to go through any questions I've missed. So when you want to know how effective your homework policy is from a whole school perspective, you can use Assignment Monitor to do so. And I'm just going to jump straight into our example platform where I've got some dummy data. And this is honestly just all the assignments we've been setting when we've been going around to schools and showing them what's possible. So the first view I have is this graphical reporting window. And as you can see, what I'm looking at here are all the homework set over the last 12 months, but I can immediately filter those down if I wanted to, just by shift clicking, and I'm selecting the summer term, if you like, and there's a bit of a downward trend, as you would expect potentially as people wind down. Looking at the filters, if it's got a blue circle on it, that means that there's data available. So I could expand this to just control click to include April and it will redraw the graph. Now this obviously shows me for the whole school. This is showing me data for all, but I could start breaking this down in different ways. So this is as a line graph. I could switch it down to or change it up to a donut graph. And what this is showing me is the proportion of homework set by department who set the work. Remember what I said about that blue button? If I scroll down here, I can see that biology, business, and economics haven't been setting any homework at all. So these are the subjects that I should probably be having a conversation with. Again, I can get this very similar view in as a bar chart. So I can see that English, geography and history are all great subjects. They're all great in terms of school policy. They're all setting homework that's going on. A lot of the other subjects not so much. And if I want to, I could look at this as a table and just see the raw data. Of course, though, all of this is exportable and we'll come on to that later on. Notice how this drop down has changed from all to now say subject. And when I click back to line graph, I can see exactly that same data, but now broken down by each of my subjects. So let's just have a look at our core subjects. I'm just selecting English and mathematics. And again, remember it's over this same reporting period that I'd already selected. So we'll take off weeks and see how they've been for the last 12 months. So there I can see the teachers who've been setting work. I can see that I've got data available for others, but I'm only just looking at English and maths. And looking at that, I can see the maths department, other than one unusual spike last November, aren't really using Frog for setting homework, which means that I'm not able to review it and report on it, which means the students aren't able to rely on Frog for their maths homework, and their parents don't know what work's being set, because that's what we want. We want one central point where I can have an overview. English have been bubbling along a little bit. They've obviously had a bit of a push here, but tailed off. It may well be that I just need to have a conversation with both heads of the department and find out what's going on. I can also do this by teacher and class, so I can see how each class is going on and getting on as well. I'll switch this over. So I can see my classes, and maybe I'll just look at 2 of them, see how much homework each of them are getting in comparison to the others. I've got all this data here, and what we've tried to do is give you the ability to interrogate it as much as you want. Now, it's all very well interrogating it on here, but you may well be wanting to take this to a meeting. So at this point, you could download the graph as a PDF. You could print the graph off, or my personal favorite, if I go into the action cog, I can actually copy the graph as an image into my clipboard. So if I'm preparing a PowerPoint to report to governors or anything along those lines, I could actually be copying this graph out, pasting it in, and I'm not having to do anything fancy with image cropping tools. It'll just do it for me. So that's the graphical side of Assignment Monitor. And I'm just going to clear these filters off because I'm now going to show you the raw data side. And I can do that by going into the View Assignments button. And here are all my homework set, organized by class, but I could put a filter on. So I could say, let's just have a look at all the English homeworks. Now I can see all the English homeworks. I can see when the due dates were, which class it was for, and the hand-in rates, which aren't particularly great, which to be honest I would expect from some a dummy platform such as this. But I can see that we've got one on this private peaceful homework. It's been handed in. And I can, whenever you set a piece of homework, and we possibly went into it, I can't quite remember, but you can go in and have what's called a comment wall. So every piece of homework creates a wall between the student and their teacher. So the student might well be coming on here and reporting that they've got issues with the homework, they've not understood something, and the teacher can reply. And there's an example, I think probably just in an earlier demo, I've typed good morning. So as a member of the pastoral team, as a member of SLT, I can see these conversations that's going on, so I can support my staff and back them up if they're having any issues with individual students. Now, if I click onto this homework, I can see it was a file drop, but it was actually also a quiz, so I can't actually interrogate and see the marking. If I'd actually handed in some homework here, I'd be able to see that and the marks given. I might also be curious as to what the homework was and how come only one student handed it in, so I can click on Open Assignment. And then this is the teacher's view, where I would see the overall work that had been assigned out. I wouldn't see from an individual point of view of a student or what the teacher's marking in this view, but I am able to see the assignment. Does it make sense? Was it clear? Again, if I'm having conversations with parents involved that the homework doesn't make sense, I can at least verify this for myself. So I find that a really powerful view when looking at what's possible to interrogate in terms of data. Now I was looking at the All tab, which is all both open and closed assignments. I could switch over to closed, so if I was just wanting to report on the homework that had been handed in and closed off by the teacher, I can do that there. And I can search for individual classes here, so we'll just filter that. And again, I can see all the homework that these classes have been assigned. But from a pastoral side, I might not want to just be looking, I might not want to be wanting to concentrate on the reporting. I might actually want to be helping to support an individual student, and I can do that here. I can search for any member of staff or student, and we'll look at this. And this is all the homework that Andrew has been set. So I can now go in and see, well, he's been handing some in, but not others. He's actually got a mark for this piece of work. Let's see what this was. And it was a quiz, so that's why it's been marked. So his teachers aren't necessarily marking the work on Frog, but at least the quizzes are reporting that work back. And I've got all of that control, and I can now support Andrew as much as I need to. So Assignment Monitor is a particularly powerful tool for helping students. And then we could just jump back to the graphing. Now, all of this data, not only can you export the graphs and print them off, you can also export all of it as a CSV file. So it may well be that you find that you can't interrogate the data as much as you would potentially want to inside Frog, so we give you the option to export it out as a spreadsheet. And this is where it becomes really powerful, because the Assignment Monitor graphs that you're looking at were actually designed by a school. They were taking our data, putting them into a predefined spreadsheet, and doing further reporting. And they showed us this reporting side and said, this is what we'd love to have built into Frog. And we took their spreadsheet, we worked with them, we asked them a few questions, and we've built that in. And this is what we try to do as much as possible with our schools, listen to what they need and then act accordingly. So that's Assignment Monitor. Hopefully you can see that it's a very quick and easy way of interrogating the data that your staff are setting for your students. And I do appreciate that I went through that at a lightning pace, but I think that's because basically everything's there and it's just something to explore and play around with. So let's see if any questions have come through. So we've got one question here. Can you export the data? Yes, I think that was to come through before I showed it. So you can export it as a spreadsheet. You can also export the individual graphs as images. And the other data, the other question was, what was that? Can it show the number of logged in users? Not in Assignment Monitor. You can do that using the Users app. So let me just quickly demonstrate what that looks like. So we have a separate application which is built into HomeLearning as well. And it's, sorry, not the Users app, the Analytics app. If I open that up, I have a whole load of data. We've got this thing called Dashboard, which is a summary of the number of user logins, the number of site visits, and the number of assignments set. So in some cases, this is all you need to get into. But from this view, I can search for individual users. I'll pop myself in. And last, in the data range we're looking at, the past 30 days, I've logged in 31 times for an average of 2 hours a time. 65 hours I've spent on Frog, and I last logged in yesterday at 3:15. So hopefully you can see that there's an awful lot I can do to interrogate my data and find out everything I need. All of that is built in as part of Frog Home Learning. Hopefully you've seen this series how intuitive Frog Home Learning is. It has been designed for and with our schools. If you're not in a position to have a full platform, then the Home Learning solution delivers everything you need to set, collect, mark, and most importantly, monitor homework. Frog runs on any mobile browser, and the MyFrog app is available for both Android and iOS devices. And remember, whenever a homework is set, both students and parents receive an alert on their phones. Self-marking quizzes and Frog Play's enormous question bank are guaranteed to save you time. But let's not forget the games, which aid engagement and student-led learning. And finally, as we've seen in today's webinar, we also provide in-depth reporting, enabling you to see not only all the homework set, but also what that homework was and how the students responded. I just wanted to leave you one last time with that concept of Yardley's school. When we looked in the Frog Play webinar, they'd set in the last 2 months their students had logged 61,000 hours of answering quiz questions, which if teachers had been marking would have taken them 8,500 hours. When you consider the time savings, the ease of use and the general engagement, the question isn't really would you like Frog Home Learning, it's why haven't you got it already? Okay, so I'm sorry for the sales pitch, but seriously, if you'd like to find out more or to get a demo in school, please do drop us a line or visit us on this page link there.